pretty much just going to sum up what her backstory is, and why she looks so actually half dead. So pretty much, Azulie was, a normal kid. She grew up in a normal family, but she got bullied quite a lot because she was kind of the runt of the school. And by the way, they're like maybe 9 or 10 in this. I don't know, like 8, 9, 10. Like, so they're still only in elementary school, and she's going through an awful lot at a young age. Her family was relatively good to her, treated her normal, and of course she loved them because of that. Anyway, there's a lot more detail I could add in saying this, but I'm just pretty much going to get the gist of it. She woke up really late one night, and she was going to get ready for school. She realized it was only like 3 a.m. maybe? Around 3 or 4 a.m. And she went out to use the bathroom. She kind of saw a shadowy figure at the end of the hall, and she blinked and it went away. She didn't think much of it because she was like, oh, it's probably just my imagination or one of my parents. No big deal. And she went to the bathroom, and when she was about to wash off her hands or her paws, whatever you want to call them, she heard a loud thud and a really muffled scream. She was very startled, got scared, and was on the verge of crying, and she almost didn't have enough courage to open the door to go out. She was getting ready to open the door, and she was planning on, bolting out, because, if you heard screams and a giant thud, bet you'd want to run back to your room like a baby, too. But when she opened the door, she saw her parents dead on the floor, and there was, blood everywhere. And she screamed. Then she looked out her window, the bathroom is near the living room, and she looked out the living room window, which was partially open, and she didn't really see much except for dark fur and yellowish yellowish blood orange eyes. It's like a yellowish orange red, pretty much. Then, without hesitation, she ran out of her house like the idiot she is, because, of course, she just found her dead parents. She doesn't want to stay in that house because there's no way that this was an accident. It was homicide. So, she ran out of her house, and she ran for a while, but then she heard loud thumping footsteps running behind her and laughing. And she got even more scared and ran so much till her feet could, barely carry her. And they pretty much, went into, she went into a forest, of course, because her house is near woods, and, the woods are there. There's, lots and lots of miles of woods. So she went into the woods, hid behind a tree, and then hid under a big patch of leaves she found all, gathered up. And so she did that, and she heard footsteps coming towards her, and she was getting really scared. She was, breathing really heavily, because, you would probably do that, too. And the stranger touched her back and her tail, and she was getting ready to scream and run, but then she jolted up her head, found that it wasn't the same character as the character with the dark fur. It looked to be more of a lighter color palette. Still very scared and untrustworthy, not trusting anything. She like, let out a yelp and was about to run, but the stranger stopped her and was like, I know what happened to your parents. I saw it all. She got really scared and was like, wait a minute, like, what, how? She's like, I'm pretty much a guardian. I can literally see everything. And she was like, oh, alright, seems legit. Anyways, long story short, this character I'm drawing, which brought her, like, greeted her, his name is Raven. And, yeah. She grabbed her hand and took her, like, into the forest, like, deeper, and was like, alright, follow me, like, I have a safe place for you. It's, like, a village with all, like, people that have, like, trauma happen to them. Azulie, like, was very hesitant, but finally gave in, and let her take her, because she didn't really have anywhere else to go. So, they eventually got there, after lots and lots of walking, and, Azulie, which is this one right here that I'm drawing, she got greeted by a bunch of, you know, other, like, children that looked to be about her age, and, she was like, oh, who are these people? And Raven said, these are pretty much, like, these kids pretty much went through the same thing you did, except their stories are a little bit different. And she's like, oh, okay. She didn't exactly want to ask right there, because, of course, like, she knows what it's like. She just figured out what it was like, just, like, barely a couple hours ago. So, she pretty much stayed there, and she pretty much got greeted to all the other village members that were not kids. They looked to be about teenagers to young adults to adults. And she and the others she met were the only children there. And she was like, wait a minute, where'd the children go? Like, because, like, we don't have parents. And she's like, and Raven said, oh, you're just gonna, like, stay in here with us? Because, like, yeah, like, you don't have anywhere else to go. And, she was like, oh, that's okay. And so, pretty much, oh my god, what was I gonna say? I'm an idiot. So pretty much, they stayed with Raven, and, like, they stayed with, like, Raven for a while. And by the way, the other children I mentioned, let me list off their names. So, there's this one boy named Kaz, one named Luna, which is a girl, Skittles, which is a boy, I forgot the other one, I'm an idiot, oh my god, Aqua, which is a girl, and she looks to be, like, she's, like, an aqua color, you know, of course her name's Aqua, Skittles, Kaz, Luna, and then there's another one, Mocha, and yeah. So, pretty much, Azulie was like, okay, well, I know you're a guardian, but, like, besides, like, the fact that we're children, what are you keeping us here for? And she's like, oh, I want to teach you how to be guardians. And Azulie was like, wait a minute, what? How do I become a guardian? And she was like, oh, it's just, like, you gotta train. It takes a lot of training. And she's like, oh, okay. She didn't really know what to expect, but the training was actually fairly hard. And Raven explained to her, like, by the way, the things you can train for is to be a firebender, an airbender, a waterbender, an earthbender, and I think there's, like, another one, which you can fly, because, yeah. And then there's one more, but I forgot it. It's a lunar bender, which I always forget that one. Azulie was pretty much training mostly to be a firebender and an airbender. What was I gonna say? And after a while of training, she eventually got good at flight. She managed to actually grow wings, because when you practice to be a guardian of flight, you grow wings, of course. And, yeah. All of her friends trained to be something different. Aqua was the waterbender. Luna, of course, was the nightbender. Mocha was the earthbender, and I'm pretty sure Kaz was... I forgot which one it was. I'm pretty sure Kaz was the airbender. And... like, of course, like, they all became pretty much guardians too. And the training went on until they were really old. Like, right now, they're 17, which it's been going on for like 7 to 8 years, since they were like 9 or 10 when this all happened. And one day, like, Raven, this one right here, pretty much told Azulie, listen, I know how your murderer is, and they actually live fairly close to this place, and they are planning on attacking one day. I know it because they've told me and actually have been enemies for a long time. So, things might happen one day when you get older. And Azulie was pretty much like broke down because she didn't like know what to think. Like, her murderer was trying to attack her and her friends, and she didn't want to lose them because she already lost her parents. So one day it actually did happen, and at this point Azulie was like 17, 18, and she was pretty much like a full-fledged guardian. Like, she mastered in firebending and flight bending. So, she, like one day, like, she was just chilling, and, by the way, the murderer's name is Smokey. I know it sounds, like, really soft for a literal murderer that slaughtered parents and citizens, but that's all I could think of because of his design, which I'll show you his design maybe in a different stream. But he attacked, and Azulie was like, "Oh no, not this BS." And you see, all her friends weren't like the greatest yet. Like, they weren't fully fledged like she was, because they actually they had other things to do, and they were actually attending to their life. But Azulie was just working non-stop, so they weren't exactly as strong as her. And she wanted to protect them, and Raven wanted to protect them too. So, pretty much both of them and everyone else in the village that were like kind of training, but they don't really train with Raven. They were trying to help, but everyone was keeping them back. And pretty much, everyone else was, fighting, And, by the way, Smokey has, how do I say this, kind of minions, not from, that one show, or maybe I forgot what it's called, but minions as in, things that help him, So, anyways, Azulie and them, pretty much Raven was trying to kill Smokey. And by the way, keep in mind, Smokey also killed everyone else's parents, but their story was a tiny bit different. Oh my god, my chest hurts. I need to get a drink after this. How do I describe this? So, oh my god, I'm sorry, I don't have a script, and I'm very awkward. Anyways, they were like attacking, and like Raven was trying to attack like what's his name again? Smokey? God, I'm an idiot. Like, she was trying to attack Smokey, but she wasn't able to get to him because, like, you know, all the minions were like, hi, welcome to Azulies. But Azulie was able to get him and start attacking him. And, of course, Azulie was, like, not holding back because, of course, he killed her parents, for God's sake. And eventually, worse comes to worse, she gets her arm torn off by him and her eye pretty much jagged out. And of course she was like in pain, but she kept on fighting, and she eventually snapped, bit his neck, and lit his, like, the wound in his neck on fire and killed him. And she could have done that at first, but the thing is, her powers get stronger the more, like, angry and determined she gets. Like, I know that sounds like a weird anime, like, thing, but she gets, like, more, she gets more powerful the more determined / angry she gets. The more determined she gets to hurt something. Like, kind of like when somebody's pestering you and you just, like, you're like, I want to fight them, but then they take a hit that you're not expecting, and you finally snap and just go ham, like, and it's like worse, like you didn't even know you could hurt someone that much. That's kind of like what she can do, but she knows she can hurt someone that much, but refuses pretty much because she's soft and she doesn't want to hurt anyone. This is pretty much the only time she's ever snapped like that. Anyways, she ended up killing him. Everything was fine, but then she was like, oh, wait a minute. My eye is missing. I have, like scars all over my body. My eye is missing. Like, my arm came off. Like, oh, what do I do? So, Raven over here, she's just an edge lord. And she also, like, you know, masters in firebender and flight. But she also has a thing that she doesn't teach anyone, which is shadows, where she can retract shadows from her body and copy them. Like, let's say, you see her arm here? Like, if she, like, uses her power, she can just, like, do this, like, grow another shadow figure of her arm. Like, pretty much, it would be, like, a second arm. But, so, she, like, and you can only do this once. If, like, you're, like, for instance, let's say, like, okay, so since she can retract an arm, like, let's say this is the arm, right? That's the arm. If this gets sliced off, then that's all she has left of that arm, and she can't grow it back. It's pretty much like a second limb. Like, for a normal arm, you can't grow it back. So pretty much, out of her arms and legs, she has two chances with them. And since she's just nice, she sacrificed one of her shadow arms for Azulie and attracted it to Azulie's arm because, like, of course, she was missing an arm. She didn't really know how to control it at first, but she did. She, like, learned to control it. And she was pretty much just overall upset over, like, everything. And she pretty much, like, when she turned 20, she, you know, like, got good at, like, everything, but she still mastered in firebender and flight. I need to check something. She pretty much mastered on, like, flight and stuff, and, hang on, if I fly in a certain way, I'm going on vacation and spend maybe a week. But yeah, but hey, listen to me. It's cool. Anyways, she's still, like, didn't really have her arm stuff, but she was able to control the shadow, and she got a glass eye, which she was barely able to see out of. Like, of course she was like still blind in that eye, but she got a glass eye, so like she didn't look so like dead, you know. But anyways, I don't really have anything else to say for Azulies' story. I mean, there's still more to come, but Azulie has been kind of through a lot. I just didn't explain it really in detail.